he said, we can fight it. I can put you there, and you can do the job. But they are willing to fail to make sure you fail. They are willing to lose money for a year or two.
Wow.
To make sure you fail.
Yeah.
So he says, if you tell me to fight it, then I will fight it. But I don't think it's the right thing to do.
We're here today with Carla Walker Miller, the founder of Walker Miller Energy Solutions. Is it Solutions?
Services.
Services. Walker Miller Energy Services. And Carla is a standout entrepreneur here in the city of Detroit and operating in several other places. And I've been really looking forward to having this discussion with you and to understanding more about your business and your journey and letting other people know, more importantly, about your business and your journey. So I'm so happy that you're giving us the time to do this today.
Thank you for inviting me to be here.
Oh, and I wish I could have been at Recess 25 because I was in Copenhagen,
That's
that
a good
week.
place to be.
It was a great place to be.
Yeah.
So I have an excuse, but I'll be there this year.
Cool.
And I met a student, one of the students in my class this semester was at Recess, and he was talking about how great it was. I said, oh, I know her.
That's wonderful.
And so he was impressed
Well, I hope
with this
he comes
professor.
back too. Yes.
So Carla, I wanted to talk to you, go back to the beginning of your story. I like to think of it as like from zero to Detroit. But tell me about, your early days, your upbringing.
I am from Nashville, Tennessee originally, and I am one of 12 kids. And my parents were hardworking, just salt of the earth people.
One of 12.
I'm
children.
one of 12. My dad had a day job, a night job, and a weekend job for as long as I knew him. And my mother was a homemaker who had 12 and actually wanted 13. And when I was young, I'm like, nobody wants 13 kids. But as I grew up, I realized that she really did want 13 kids. But anyway, stayed in Nashville through high school. And through college, went to Tennessee State. And HBCU and received a degree in civil engineering. And I became an engineer because I was able to get a scholarship, a full ride scholarship in engineering. And I had spoken with my guidance counselor about what degrees pay the most. And she started talking to me about being a doctor or an attorney. And then she started talking about grad school and law school. And I'm like, oh, no, I mean, what degrees pay the most immediately, 4 years? And she said engineering. And I was really fortunate because that was the early 80s. And just so happened that people were just starting to invest in making Black women aware of opportunities in engineering. They were trying to grow the diversity. And I went through a summer program and got a full ride scholarship.
Wow. Well, tell me about, before that, the home situation. What was it like at home with 11 siblings?
It was really interesting at home with 11 siblings because even though I talk about how hard my parents had to work to make ends meet, they were very organized, very determined, and we had a very, very, very structured life. And I remember my dad had rules for everything. We had window air conditioners, so there was a date you could turn on the air conditioners. There was a date that you had to, do everything. We washed windows at a particular date. We stripped hardwood floors on a particular date. The Christmas tree couldn't go up until after the walls were painted, every year. He was just very, it was much more organized than you would think with 11 kids. My parents had processes. And when I tell people that there were 12 of us, then they start cracking jokes like, oh, you all probably didn't have enough food. We always had enough food, and we always had company over. And The other interesting thing I remember is my mom always had books. She always made sure we had books. We read a lot. We knew poems, and it was nothing. And again, this was, 60s, 70s,
Yeah.
for someone to knock on our door at 8:30 at night and say, "Oh, Mrs. Walker, can I use your World Book Encyclopedia?"
Wow.
Because not every family in our neighborhood had,
Yeah.
reference books.
Yeah.
And they had to do their homework. And if
Yeah.
you can't go to the library, you had to go to someone's house. And people were surprised that we had those types of things. But
And what was your father's background? You say you had 3 jobs. What were
my
those
father
jobs?
had 3 jobs. He was a Navy veteran, but he was a custodian during the
Okay.
day. So
Yeah.
a very difficult job for a school system. In the evening, he worked at a department store called Zare. It would an equivalent would be a Walmart in the camera department. He was a photographer, so
Okay.
he loved doing that. And then on the weekends, he either cleaned churches or got a photography gig
Wow.
on the
Okay.
weekends.
Yeah.
So he worked every single weekend that I can remember.
Yeah. And your mom?
My mom was went to Morris Brown College for 1 year, and she quit because her mother would not allow her to become a nurse because she said that white people would not allow a black nurse to serve them. Now you have to think about this was probably my mom was born in the 20s, so this was probably 1940,
Yeah.
and you didn't see
Yeah.
doctors and nurses in rural Georgia,
Yeah.
where my mom was from.
Oh, wow. What town in Georgia?
Somerville.
Okay.
So I don't know if North Georgia, Somerville, Rome, Tryon, not far from Chattanooga, Tennessee. So
Yeah.
near the Georgia-Tennessee line is where my family's originally from.
I want to tell you a quick story about nursing because my mother was a nurse.
Is that right?
And she grew up in Georgia.
Is that right?
And she was from Camilla, Georgia, down in Southwest Georgia. She went to Grady School of Nursing in Atlanta.
Yes.
I have her diploma. It says Grady Colored School of Nursing.
Is that right?
Yes. And so she went to work in Albany at Phoebe Hospital. And as you say, they had a black side of the hospital, they had a white side of the hospital, and a corridor between them. One night, she had to pee, and she ran into the bathroom. It happened to be at the entrance to the white side of the hospital. She was severely reprimanded, and that's why they moved from Albany, Georgia to Flint.
Yeah.
So your mother was not wrong.
No, my mother was not, my grandmother was not wrong. She was fearful, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Of my mother's dreams, and she couldn't see the vision, but
Yeah.
but it worked out because
Yeah.
my mother married my dad.
And sounds like they created a really nurturing
They
and
created
supportive environment for you all.
a very nurturing and supportive environment. My dad worked really, really hard, nowhere near as hard as my mom, who was an amazing homemaker.
Yeah.
And she also would sneak and do domestic work during the day. When my dad was at work, she waited for him to leave. I mean, she really was a very determined person, but
Yeah.
she always had a job. She was a homemaker. In the census in those days, you always put what your occupation was. And she
Yeah.
was a homemaker.
Yeah.
But she would sneak to bale mead during the day after my dad went to work and do domestic work, get back before he came home,
Wow.
and perform as a great mother. And because that was what was necessary.
Yeah,
And so I talk about a lot about the paying homage to my parents because I saw what hard work
Yeah.
looked like,
Yeah.
and I saw what sacrifice looked like. But I also found I learned what joy and love and community,
Yeah.
and family and determination looked like.
Wow.
So.
And how were things with the siblings? Come on, where were you in
Oh
the in
man,
the, in
I
the
was
group?
number 9. And so the thing that people don't realize is when there are 11 siblings, by the time I was 6 or 7, my oldest sister, who was 11 years older than me, was gone to college.
Yeah.
So there were never all of us in the house at the same time,
Yeah.
except during vacations.
Okay.
Summer vacation or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was
Wow.
fun. I didn't realize that not everyone had their own baseball team, basketball team. We had our own sports
Yeah.
teams, and
Any music?
oh, we did everything to music.
Yeah.
We did everything to music. Now, my cousins actually from Georgia had a traveling singing group. No one in my mom's family could sing.
Okay.
And I don't know how that happens,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it does. So no, we danced and sang for our own entertainment a lot.
Okay.
But no musicians at all.
Wow. And how are the siblings today?
We lost two. I've lost two brothers, but we're still very close. We're all over the country, but home is still our core. As a matter of fact, my brother that passed away in his obituary, he said that being a walker was the greatest joy of his life, and he meant it. I mean,
Wow.
we really were happy
Yeah.
to be siblings
Yeah.
and proud of what our parents just
Yeah.
put in us,
Yeah.
what they showed us.
Yeah.
Just
Sounds like a really special experience, family experience.
It was. And when we talk about really being poor and struggling, we were one of the few families that took a family vacation every single year. My dad would pack us up in a car,
Yeah.
and we would drive to Denver or Niagara
Oh, wow.
Falls. And
That's
we actually
unusual.
did so we were in Nashville, but our well-to-do relatives were all starting in Dayton, Detroit,
Yeah.
Flint,
Yeah.
Rochester, and that's how we ended up in Niagara Falls sometimes.
Oh,
But we
wow.
were following our relatives I didn't know at the time who had migrated north
Yeah.
during the Great Migration. And those were the same relatives that would drive through the South every summer in their new Cadillacs and deuce and quarters.
Yep.
and
Made in
show
Flint.
off,
Made in Flint.
okay, and show off because they had these great factory jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So tell me about education. Your grade school, your high school. What was that like?
I went to a neighborhood school in Nashville, and in the community that we lived in, my neighborhood school was all black,
Okay.
and the communities, the doctors, the nurses, the teachers, the dentists, everyone lived.
Yeah.
The community center,
Yeah.
the fire station. It was like it was a community in Nashville, but it was a microcosm of a small town.
Yeah.
And up until I was in the 7th grade, I went to Wharton Elementary School.
Yeah.
And one of the most devastating things that happened in my early life was mandated busing. And my last year at Wharton School was the 8th grade. And from then on, I went to two different majority schools, two different white schools where we were the minority. And it really kind of sent my life into a tizzy at the time because it took us away from everything we knew. And as far as we knew, our schools were excellent. Our teachers were excellent. We were in a bubble, almost. But one of the first things I realized is through eight grades at Wharton School, I had never seen a new school book. When I went to Hillwood was the first time I ever opened a book and it didn't have a bunch of names and different schools.
Wow.
So you could immediately see that the education systems were not separate but equal, which they were supposed to be. I had never seen a new school book.
Wow.
All the school books had come from the white schools before.
Wow. Well, it's interesting because I told you about talking to my professor last week and his experience. And for me, growing up in Flint, we were in a bubble as well. It just so happened it was an integrating school district, but similarly in the neighborhood, the guy the pharmacist who owned the local pharmacy was black. The merchants were black. The Fuller Brush man was black. My doctor was black. The dentist went to Meharry. He was black.
Absolutely. So I lived down the street from Meharry Hospital.
Okay. Yeah, and so we didn't feel like we were missing anything in those days. And my 4th grade teacher, Teresa Hamilton, was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force
Wow.
Reserve. And why was she teaching fourth grade in Flint? Because that's what she could get, right? And so we actually benefited
Absolutely.
from that
From
situation.
her lack of access.
Yeah, exactly. So it sounds like, you know, we've had some similar kinds of experiences, and they weren't bad.
They weren't bad.
Yeah.
They weren't bad. I was devastated.
Yeah. So you went to Hillwood for
I
high
went to
school.
Hillwood and then Stratford, because the neighborhood I was in was zoned for 2 different schools. So you went to one school for the 9th and 10th,
Okay.
and another school for
Wow.
the last 2. Where they were just trying to figure it out. We literally were guinea pigs, you know, during the
Yeah. Well, that was a
during
rough
those
time,
days.
and you know,
It
and
was
as you
such
know,
a
in
rough
Detroit,
time.
it was rough too, and
Yeah.
you know, that whole thing. But so I'm assuming you did well in
I
high
did.
school.
I did well enough in high school, yeah.
Yeah. And so you went to Tennessee State. Did you look at going to any other schools at that time?
I thought I was going to be able to go to Spelman,
Mm.
but I couldn't figure the scholarship money out. So I
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to go to Spelman or Clark,
Mm-hmm.
because I absolutely wanted to leave home to go to college. But again, finding about the engineering scholarship, I had never thought about becoming an engineer until I realized there was money available.
The opportunity.
I tell people if they had been given pie making scholarships, and this is because I didn't have a way to pay for college.
Yeah.
If they had been given pie making scholarships, you'd be interviewing Carla
The
Carla
baker, the
pie.
chef.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the things that really informed the way I raised my children is I did make sure they had a good understanding of the options, you know, for education. And my last grade I was a really good student, but my last grade in advanced math was a D in geometry. There was just something theoretical about geometry, and I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
Plus, I was cheerleading and playing tennis, so I don't think it was as important as it should have been.
Yeah.
And so when I started talking about going to school in engineering, I was terrified because, you know, I was a good student, but the amount of math that is loaded into the technical. But I made it. I had to stay in an extra semester. But it was one of the best things I ever did. It was actually toughen an engineering degree out.
Yeah. So you finished the degree at Tennessee State and started your career. So tell me about that.
My first job was at Westinghouse at a distribution transformer plant in Athens, Georgia. And it's so interesting because one of the things that I remember watching a video that Denzel Washington made, and he says that we need to understand the difference between race and culture, because ironically, one of my first experiences in the job market was being accused of being militant when I was just being myself. And let me tell you about it. I was offered a job in Athens, Georgia, which was fine. I wanted to go to Atlanta, but I was offered the job in Athens. And I'm excited. We're ready. And the recruiter says, and he's giving me just the details. And you're going to stay at the Confederate Inn for the first month until you find a place to live. And I let him finish, you know, with all the rest of the details. And I said, sir, I can't stay at the Confederate Inn. And hey, this plant has been here since 1955. Everyone that starts here, this is where people stay. People stay at the Confederate Inn. My mom's already nervous about her young adult daughter going to Athens, Georgia, rural Georgia, where she grew up.
That's
right?
northern Georgia, right?
It is. It's like I said, it's right across from the Georgia-Tennessee line. And I said, my mother will not be able to write to me in the Confederate Inn, and that will be a problem. So I assure you, I can't stay at the Confederate Inn. And so they made arrangements so I could stay with the only other black female engineer in the company until I could find an apartment. And what I learned years later was that before I ever stepped foot in corporate America, I had been labeled a militant just because I wanted to spare my mother the anxiety
Yeah.
of knowing that I was staying in
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
place called
Yeah.
the Confederate Inn.
Well, how did you come to work for Westinghouse at this place in the first place?
Yeah, Westinghouse and General Electric, for people that don't know, basically built the energy infrastructure,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
40s, 50s, 60s, all the gas turbines, the power plants. And I had offers in engineering, but I had decided I was not a good design engineer and I didn't want to be an engineer. Westinghouse and GE at the time had jobs called sales engineers, where you do use your technical skills, but you use it to sell their products
Yeah.
and to basically design products that meet your customers' needs.
Yeah.
So sales engineering was much, much more interesting
Yeah.
to me. And that's that's when I got the offer in sales engineering. It was so much more important or compelling to me than anything in design.
So this was the energy industry from the get-go.
This was the energy industry. Yep, I went to their distribution transformer division, the transformers that look like a garbage can,
Yeah.
pole top
Yeah.
division. And that's all we sold.
And you were selling these to different utilities around the
Yeah,
country?
we had the country divided into accounts.
Okay.
And whatever area you
Yeah.
were
What was your
assigned.
territory?
Well, I was there for almost 18 years. So over that
Oh, wow.
period, I was with Westinghouse and ABB. So over that period, I had different territories, but I ultimately ended up in distribution engineering, which is working with distributors
Yeah.
who are
Okay.
selling
Yeah.
them to contractors
Yeah.
and utilities.
Yeah.
So
And I imagine if it's anything like the telecommunications industry in those days, the people you were dealing with at the distributors didn't look like you.
they did not look like me, and they did not get me. They could not fathom why I was there. I mean, and that was it was interesting because when I went to an HBCU and they did everything they could to prepare us for the fact that when you leave here, this is going to be your last experience in life.
Yeah.
Where you are with people who think like you.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going into
Yeah,
engineering,
yeah.
if you're going into a technical degree,
Yeah.
this is probably going to be your last time being in a room with people who care about education, who are Black, who are going into corporations, who are, pledging sororities, all the things that you get at an HBCU.
You go into a new culture.
You are going into something new. And so they taught us a lot. They taught us to be prepared, but that's not the same as being prepared because I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for a culture that was not prepared for being. And
so how did that show itself?
Yeah, it manifests itself in so many ways. And one was I realized that part of my job was to, and this is over time, was to make people feel comfortable enough to include me, even in a meeting, and that's a big burden to put on someone who is, and I don't mean just an ethnic minority, but who is different from everyone else. You still have the burden to make people feel, to make people feel comfortable enough to give you the information you need to do your job.
Let alone to have the credibility.
Forget the credibility. That it took so long to establish the credibility. And when I talk about my corporate journey, because I'm very competitive, very determined to do well, high performing, performance was always important to me. And it was more important because I did grow up with my parents saying we had to be twice as good. So I didn't go in dumb. I knew that I was going to have to perform. But what I didn't know, and what I'm still processing, 50 years later, is that performance is not enough. That there's so many other things that are important, like being able to navigate differences with the level of maturity and sophistication that you don't have
Yeah.
as a young
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. Looking back
And
now, you probably
looking
there
back,
you probably can think of ways that you handle things that
oh my
you could have
God,
done so much better
absolutely.
with what you know now.
And as a young person, I wanted to win. You know,
Yeah.
as a young person, I wanted to prove myself. And proving myself over that next 18 years manifested itself in all kinds of ways. Even the black coffee. Hated black coffee, but for me to move fast, for me to get my coffee as fast as the guys get back,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me to run and be able to carry my luggage, I had to pack lighter than everybody else, so so
Yeah.
they wouldn't have to help.
Yeah.
But even the black coffee, I could drink engine oil. I could drink the blackest, worst coffee in
You
the
have to. You
world
have
for a
to.
while. That's right, because we were moving.
Yeah.
Black coffee's all you get.
Yeah.
So I developed all these habits. I remember, and part of it was style, but I remember going through a period where I was literally wearing a tie. I was wearing a suit with a vest and a tie like
Yeah.
the guys.
Yeah.
Same pinstripe suit. I'm like, there's nothing that they can do that's going to disqualify me
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
being recognized as capable and competent. And there's nothing that's going to keep me from establishing that I belong here.
Yeah. So 18 years with this company, and was the whole time in Georgia, or
No,
did you
I
move?
lived in Georgia for 3 years. Then I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
and worked with in distribution. Then I moved to Atlanta to a headquarters
Okay.
position and worked with all types of electrical equipment. And by that time, Westinghouse had been purchased by ABB, which is still in existence right now.
Something Brown Boveri, some
ASEA,
French
Brown
company.
Boveri, German.
German. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, even though it was 18 years with the same organization, the companies changed a lot over time.
And you were advancing as
I
you
was
moved through the-
advancing, but I was advancing grudgingly, meaning it took them a lot. It took a lot for them to give me a promotion. And I remember at one point they gave me a hybrid promotion, like, well, you're not really a manager, but you're not an entry level, And so there was a lot of, there were a lot of first where everyone got this, but I got, I got this.
Special promotion.
Yeah, I got a special. I got a special promotion. One of the most demoralizing things that ever happened. And I don't want to act as if everything was bad.
Yeah, yeah.
I learned so much. Just being introduced to corporate America and how fast things move and how just how rugged, how competitive things, how excellent working with a European company that knew engineering, right? And precision. That was like at the top of its game. I learned lessons that I still apply now. I knew how to do things well. But what I say now is that in that 18 years, even though I did get promotions, even though I did advance, I did move, I was never the ideal candidate for any job. It's like they were always trying to figure out what to do with me now. Okay, she's outgrown this. We promoted Randall. We promoted, Carla's performing as well as they are, and she's still sitting here.
Do something.
It was so you really were, even for the people that liked you and thought you did well, you really were a problem because people are looking and like, it can't be that she's black. Can't, nobody wants to think that, right?
Yeah.
But when I was living in Raleigh, North Carolina, I got a promotion. And I was going to move to Atlanta, and I was going to handle all of ABB's products for a distributor that was based in Chattanooga, Tennessee. But they had traditionally been handled from Atlanta, and it was a promotion. I was so excited. And the week before I was supposed to move, I got a call from the man who was going to be my new boss, and his name was Charlie Ritchie, and I'll never forget. I was so excited. Went to Atlanta, and he said, we have a problem. He says, the distributor that you would be mainly responsible for, they don't want you there. They don't want a black woman representing our products in Chattanooga.
Wow.
And
what year was this?
It was about, it was later than you would think. It was about 1989.
Wow.
19, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, later than you would think. And he said, we can fight it. I can put you there
Mm-hmm.
and you can do the job. But they are willing to fail to make sure you fail.
Mm.
They are willing to lose money
Yeah.
for a year or two
Wow.
to make sure you fail.
Yeah.
So he says, if you tell me to fight it, then I will fight it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Mm.
And if I tell you that I have never cried as hard about business,
Yeah.
as I did, because one of the things about when something like that happens to you, one of the things I realized is not just that it hurt, but it made me feel less than. It made me feel like I was less than, not like I was being treated as less than.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It made me feel like I was less
Yeah.
than, and
Yeah.
that's why
It's
that
hard
was.
not to internalize.
It was impossible for me not to internalize it. But Charlie Ritchie said, I'll tell you what, you come on to Atlanta, and instead of going to work for that one distributor, I want you to manage a group of distributors, from the, the headquarters, the
Mm-hmm.
southern headquarters. I did that for 3 years. At the end of 3 years, that same distributor asked if I would come and manage his territory.
Oh, wow.
And we said no.
Yeah.
No, no, we won't. No, I won't do that. But the pressure of always having to be on, always having to be good,
Yeah.
or there are negative consequences, knowing that you're always being judged,
Mm-hmm.
always fighting for just the same consideration as everyone else. It wore on me.
Wow.
Yeah, it wore on me.
So, were you still with ABB when you came to Detroit?
I was still with ABB.
Okay.
I got married in Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
and when my
How did you meet your husband?
my husband was here, but he was a narcotics officer here in Detroit, and I met him
With the feds?
No, with the city of Detroit.
Oh,
He was
okay.
in there
Wow.
undercover,
Wow. Okay.
Detroit, in
Yeah.
undercover, and I met him through one of my friends there.
Mm.
And I never planned to leave Atlanta. I loved Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
But we got married, and during the process of him trying to find, he was a tried and true Detroiter. He is to this day.
Yeah.
And it was just really, really hard for him to leave Detroit.
Mm.
So we got married. I had a very rough pregnancy. My twins were sick when they were born. They were born 6 weeks early and needed a lot of support. So that's how I really ended up coming to where we had some stability and
Family support.
family support.
Yeah.
His mother was here.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up here.
Wow. So you were still working in that distribution management
I was.
role up
And
here?
because at that time I managed offices in LA, Detroit, and Atlanta. It didn't matter where.
Okay.
So I literally moved. I was able to move here because this was one of my, geographic areas.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I came here depressed, kicking and screaming with sick kids
Yeah.
in November. Who moves to Detroit in November?
Yeah.
But it has really worked out. It took me a while to get Detroit, and for a while I was sad because at that time I moved to Detroit in 1990, the year my sons were born. So that other incident must have been about 87. But anyway, I moved here the year my sons were born, and Detroit was a culture shock to me. And I started plotting how to get back to Atlanta immediately.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, just being in Detroit, I just started to fall in love with the people of Detroit. And basically how gritty they were, how determined they were
Yeah.
to have respect
Yeah.
during a time where there was none. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think Detroit had to be the most disrespected city
Mm.
in the country at
Yeah.
the time. Everyone had Detroit jokes.
Yeah.
So I went from really resenting to Detroit to really loving Detroit and loving
Yeah.
the people.
Yeah. You know, one thing, I'm curious if you've had this experience. I joke with my wife about this, about people disrespecting Detroit. It seems like almost any airport I go to, and this just happened to me last week in Las Vegas coming back. It seems like the gate for Detroit is always the last one
Oh my
at
God.
the end of the concourse. I don't care where you are.
That is so
I'm
funny.
like, is that a
I
message or
have
something?
never noticed that. I've never noticed
Maybe
that.
that's just me. But again, it happens just like, and every time it happens, I point out to her, see, I bet we're going to be, and
Yeah.
sometimes the number is like, you know, it seems like the number's in the middle, but they split it in two, so your number's on
Right,
it.
right.
Anyway,
That's funny.
and that's in Atlanta too.
Mhm.
Detroit is always out there. But so in Detroit, one of the things I've noticed since coming back here, and I grew up in Flint, so I was never part of the Detroit culture, but one of the things in Detroit is there's this culture and there's this group of clubs, and so you got the Boule and you got the Links and you got the Sophisticates,
The
you got
Jack and the Jills
Jack
and
and
that.
Jill and all this stuff. I'm wondering, did you get into that whole
No,
thing, or
not
did
at
you kind of
all.
bypass all
No, I was super busy. As I said, when I moved here, I had 3-month-old twins
Yeah.
who had health problems.
that? Yeah.
And I was starting a job in a new location.
Yeah.
Same job, but totally different location. And I was still responsible for Atlanta and California.
Yeah.
So it took a long time for me to even, and my office, even though I lived in the city, my office was in Farmington Hills.
Mm.
So I didn't really get to know real Detroit.
Yeah.
I was living at 8 Mile in Woodward.
Mm.
So I lived in Detroit,
Yeah.
but my life was
Mhm.
not in Detroit. But when my kids were young, we joined the church in Detroit. We did T-ball in Detroit, dance lesson, for my
Yeah,
kids,
yeah.
piano lessons. So my kids grew up as Detroiters, and
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really important. But I wasn't. I still didn't feel like I was a part of Detroit. So I wasn't invited to the Links or the Jack and Jill or. That's funny that I keep saying the Jack and the
Yeah,
Jill.
yeah,
I
yeah.
know it's Jack
Yeah.
and Jill.
No,
I
think-
wasn't invited to the social,
Yeah.
the programs that the people who are really connected get
Yeah.
invited to.
Yeah. That's
And,
interesting. Again, I've had some experiences coming back to town with that, and so I'm just curious now. So, did you stay with ABB until you started your own company?
I did.
So tell me about what motivated that. Well, hold on 1 minute. Hey, thanks for watching part 1 of my interview with Carla Walker Miller. If you like what you saw there, stay tuned. Part 2 will be coming soon. Thank you.